Namaste everyone. Welcome to our 2021 Parliament of the World Religious Conference. Our subject for the panel discussion is Yoga for Sustainable Development Goals. Valio Community is an NGO associated with the United Nations Department of Global Communication and an accredited NGO with the ECOSOC at the United Nations. Here we have few panelists. One is Reverend Martha Gallagher, Reverend Dr. Remy Alapo, Grandmother Patricia and Davis, Reverend Dr. Kathleen Regan. These are the four speakers with me. I'm the moderator. Why we choose yoga for sustainable development goals? Yoga is a way of life according to the Indian tradition. You see the theme for this parliament, that is opening our heart to the world, compassion in action. This we can see from the yoga. Patanjali mentioned Ashtanga Yoga, that is 8 limbs of Raja Yoga: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dhyana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Yama means abstentions, non-violence, truthfulness, non-stealing, celibacy, non-possessiveness. Niyama means purity, contentment, persistent meditation, study of self, contemplation of God. And asana is a posture, literally means seat, and Patanjali Sutras refers to the seated position used for meditation. Breathing techniques, withdrawal of the senses from external objects. Dharana, fixing the attention on a single object. Dhyana means meditation. Samadhi is liberation. So why we brought this to sustainable development goals? So first we had to go, what is sustainable development goals? Sustainable development goals are collection of 17 interlinked global goals designed to be a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. The SDGs were set up in 2015 by the United Nations General Assembly and intended to achieve by the year 2030. They are: number 1, no poverty; 0 hunger; good health and well-being; quality education; gender equality; clean water and sanitation; affordable and clean energy; decent work and economic growth; industry, innovation and infrastructure; reducing inequality; sustainable cities and communities; reasonable consumption and production; climate action; life below water; life on land; peace, justice and strong institutions; partnerships for the goals. So I go with 2 points. That the first one is no poverty. No poverty in all its forms everywhere. You see, the goal has 7 targets and 13 indicators to measure progress. The first outcome targets are eradication of extreme poverty, reduction of all poverty by half, implementation of social protection systems, ensuring equal rights to ownership, basic services, technology and economic resources, and building of resilience to environmental, economical and social disasters. The 2 targets related to means of achieving SDG 1 are mobilization of resources to end poverty and the establishment of poverty eradication policy framework at all levels. 0 hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. SDG 2 has 8 targets and 14 indicators to measure progress. The 5 outcome targets are ending hunger and improving access to food, ending all form of malnutrition, agricultural productivity, sustainable food production systems, and resilient agricultural practices, and genetic diversity of seeds, cultivated plants, and farmed and domesticated animals, investments, research and technology. The 3 means of achieving targets include addressing trade restrictions and distortions in world agricultural markets and food commodity markets and their derivatives. So when you look, these 17 goals all are interlinked. We cannot take it separate. This is entire life. And I see there's no spirituality included in these 17 goals. So we'll make this 18th goal as yoga. It is a universal teaching. And yogis never think about any religion or culture or caste, creed, or any religion or nationality. So we yogis, we have different types of yogas. Some people like in physical exercise, some people like in spiritual practice or meditation or singing bhajans or kirtan, devotional songs, music, dance or art or sports. They celebrate their existence through their own practice. But in the meanwhile, we see entire life belong to the universe. The God, he or she doesn't matter. God is one with the two forms, yin and yang. We believe female and male have equal parts in godliness. We bring that godliness in our event to promote we are the human being on this earth with the divine nature, to bring love and care about everybody and live in a sustainable manner. That is the purpose of this discussion group, panel discussion group. Here, I like to invite our first speaker, that is Reverend Martha Gallahue. She is an NGO representative of the United Religious Initiative to the United Nations, where she is currently coordinator of the URI UN Circle. She was the president of the National Ethical Service, and she served as their main NGO representative to the United Nations since 1997. She is a clergy leader with the American Ethical Union. At the United Nations, she has been elected to the Universal Ethics Caucus, Executive Council of NGO CSVGC, and Spiritual Caucus. She continues to write articles on spiritual activism. Reverend Martha Gallagher is one of the honorable advisors at the Global Council of the World Yoga Community, which is an NGO with the UN. Here, without delay, I want to invite Reverend Martha Gallagher. Reverend Martha Gallagher, floor is for you.
Hello, everyone. And thank you, Guru Dileepji, and the World Yoga community for inviting me to speak. And you let the world know that my perspective is from the United Nations, where groups of us basically are advocating for increased cooperation for achievement of the goals. Presently, it's from an economic perspective, as currently I'm working with the NGO Committee on Finance for Development. What I wanted to talk to you about today was that, first of all, I have observed at the United Nations that the civil society, in addition to those who have particular expertise, there's a high percentage of multi-faith organizations who are working to achieve the goals. And that brings to mind that many, many people see these goals as integrative. And so it seems very important to cast a spotlight on the Sustainable Development Agenda, all of the goals, in the light of unification. What would they look like? We know that the agenda describes the entire platform as universal, indivisible, and transforming. And so we sometimes get lost in the weeds in the details of this item or that item. And so what I hope to do today would be to focus on the last two goals, Goal 16, achieving peace, and Goal 17, working through partnership. And to help balance my focus on policy and advocacy, I participate in a meditation group on Sunday, which focuses upon the spirituality of our economy and shifting my thinking away from dollars and cents and more into this vibrant energy of sharing and circulation, of knowing that, and I think a lot of us could relate to that, that my wealth is in those people that I am able to love and feel loved by. And that we know that in disaster, we know this is how human beings gather themselves. So in focusing my attention on goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, our meditation group says those words, but what we think is we embrace the culture of peace, that humanity, in order to recognize and unify these goals, there are certain ways of thinking that inherently produce the effect that we're looking for. And the term that we use to describe that is what we call the culture of peace. And that begins within ourselves. It radiates beyond our families, through our families and beyond. It encompasses our neighborhoods, our localities, our countries, and all those institutional systems that make it better for people. So when we talk about goal 16, we think in terms of embracing the culture of peace. With goal 17, which is to have partnerships, which is a term that was deeply focused upon by former Secretary General Kofi Annan. He inserted this notion of partnership in his Millennium Declaration. So the term has been very important for the crafters of the goals. And when we contemplate that goal 16, we think about humanity living in right relationship with all life. So as you recognize, my tradition is humanist. And what my humanist tradition, the spirituality, there is the comprehensive interrelatedness of all life. And if that simply is the inherent law of nature, then in fact, when we talk about partnerships, we're thinking not only of institutional, professional, collaborative partnerships, but partnerships of the soul, where we bring out the best in others, and in bringing out the best in others, we bring out the best in ourselves. So one of the thoughts that I had was, what if we had a guide, a yoga's guide toward achieving the Sustainable Development Goals? What might that look like? And I would suggest that it would look like holding certain terms, such as the culture of peace, partnerships in trust and collaboration, and we would live into them by examining how, whatever it is we do, in my case, advocacy, how is it that I speak to those to whom I'm trying to inform? How is it that I create declarations of action or white papers or all the kinds of mechanical things that we try to do to impress others with what we believe are the cause of the world, is to do it through my spiritual focus. I think I've used up my time. I thank you for speaking and letting me speak, and I'm happy to answer questions.
I'm so happy that you brought the peace, justice, and strong institutions and the partnership of the goals. That's very important in the yogic lifestyle. When we have the question and answer section, we'll come back to that point. Thank you, Reverend Martha. Our next speaker is grandmother Patricia Ann Davis. She is an indigenous elder of Choctaw and Diné Navajo lineage. Currently, she is an NGO representative of the Velia community to the United Nations. She is an international educator who is initiated, trained, and experienced in facilitating her authentic indigenous ceremonial change process for wellness restoration. It is cross-cultural, intergenerational, inclusive, universal in practical application, and translatable to any language. She is a world systems designer specializing in peacemaking leadership who has worked as an administrator in health and human services for 20 years. She has traveled to 10 countries by invitation to teach and facilitate the ICCP that she designed for win-win constructive decisions and outcomes. Without delay, I like to invite Grandmother Patricia Ann Davis. Grandmother, floor is for you.
You both are muted.
Thank you, Guruji. Greetings, everyone. What I speak today is good, beautiful, and true for families, communities, and world governing systems. From the indigenous lens for stewarding earth, water, fire, and air within the etheric web of light and love and life. Ya'ate shik'e shidane ta'alnalso. I am born of the Mississippi Band of Choctaw to the Kachini and Kia'ani, authentic clan medicine people of the Diné Navajo Nation. Listen carefully, my humane family and all of my relatives. Let us affirm our inherent divinity and inherent sovereignty with Creator within creation, where the natural order, spiritual laws govern us all equally. May we live the loving way as a way of life, using our co-creative power within us to have peacemaking power with others. In our eternal sacred self and within our eternal blessed place in the universe, we affirm self-reverence and reverence for all life. We're all the precious child of the perfect peace and love of Creator within creation. Simultaneously, thus we must acknowledge and correct the pollution of nuclear bombs and waste stored in the land, chemtrails in the air, oil spills and plastic trash pollution in the oceans and waterways. Wake up to the self-sabotaging destruction of our Mother Earth, our home, our habitat, sanctuary, and our synagogue. That is resulting in climate change and a severe climate crisis today. As Indigenous people, we are requesting all of you to become stewards of the earth, the water of life, the fire and air. And this requires us all to initiate our will to good by reframing out of what I call inverse thinking, defined as win-lose is no one wins. It's destructive and it's death-producing decisions and outcomes that we have brought to a crisis stage today in our contemporary times. The reframe for us is into the affirmative thinking, defined as win-win, constructive and life-affirming decision and outcomes. All of my relatives, let us affirm our inherent divinity and sovereignty with Creator and within the natural order spiritual laws that govern us equally. This is the fundamental basis of all equality among us. May we live the loving way as a way of life, and using our co-creative power within us to have peacemaking power with others. Sheshbahojo, Ado Sheshbahojoni, let us collectively affirm self-reverence and reverence for all life. We are all in this beautiful creation, and therefore we, the World Yoga Community, advocate collective humaneness, peacemaking, or sustainable development as the unifying principles that are congruent with Indigenous people. Therefore, let us affirm together. Beauty radiates within us. Beauty radiates before us. Beauty radiates below us. Beauty radiates above us. And beauty radiates all around us. Everything is created in beauty. Hojo nahaskli, hojo nahaskli, hojo nahaskli, hojo nahaskli ahya. Thank you, my family and my relatives.
Thank you, grandmother. I know it's very hard to bring all the points from the Sustainable Development Goals. Number 13, climate change, 14, life below water, and 15, life on earth within 5 minutes. But you brought the points in nutshell. That's the part we need. That will help us, and I know we'll have future so many events coming up. You can bring more points. So we'll wait for the question and answer section after everybody speaks. Okay. So I'd like to invite our next speaker. That is Dr. Remy Aleppo. She is a director of Institute for Peace and Leadership, an NGO representative at the United Nations. Her organization, located in Brooklyn, and focus on sustainable development, number 4 on education, 5 on gender equality, 16 on peace building, and 17 on partnership building. She currently an adjunct professor at City University of New York, CUNY, where she teaches courses in the humanities and the social sciences and lectures on Africa and African diaspora, migrant experiences, race and ethnicity, world cultures, and global issues. Dr. Aleppo received her doctorate from the University of Phoenix, Arizona in organizational management and leadership in February 2011. She received an MA in African Studies in August 2007 from the State University of New York in Albany, where she also received her BA in French with minors in political science and African Studies in 1998. Her research interests includes international and cross-cultural management issues in Africa and other religions, especially with women's leadership. She is an advisor to the Value Community Global Council. And without delay, I like to invite Dr. Remi Alapo. Floor is for you.
Namaste, everybody. Peace and blessings to you all. Thank you so much, Guruji, for the wonderful introduction. I'm very overwhelmed. Thank you so much. My topic is on inclusive and sustainable education for gender equality. And this is SDG number 4 on education and SDG number 5 on gender equality. Gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. There has been progress over the last decades, and because more girls are actually going to school now, fewer girls are forced into early marriage, more women are serving in parliament and positions of leadership, and laws are being reformed to advance gender equality. Despite these gains, many challenges still remain, such as discriminatory laws and social norms that remain pervasive in many countries. Women continue to be underrepresented at all levels of political leadership. And 1 in 5 women and girls between the ages of 15 and 49 have reported at one point in time in their life experiencing physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner within a 12-month period. The effects of the COVID-19 pandemic could reverse the limited progress that has been made on gender equality and women's rights, especially in the area of quality education. Women play a disproportionate role in responding to the COVID-19 virus, including as frontline health workers and careers at home. And then the unpaid work that women have carried out over the years, they've increased significantly as a result of school closures and the increased needs of older people, which has relegated many women and girls around the world to either stop going to school, not having access to technology to be able to attend classes online, or boys or males being favored over girls. The pandemic has also led to steep increase in violence against women and girls. And with the lockdown measures in place, many women are trapped at home with their abusers, struggling to access services that, suffering from cuts and restrictions. So gender equality is a global priority for UNESCO and also linked to efforts to promote the right to education and to support the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Through the Education 2030 Framework for Action, the SDG 4 aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and to promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And SDG 5 aims to achieve gender equality and to empower all women and girls. The Education 2030 agenda recognizes that gender equality requires an approach that ensures that girls and even boys, women and even men not only gain access to and complete education cycles, but are empowered equally in and through education that will improve their lives. Some best practices to ensuring the quality education for women and girls is to support school to work skills training, to enhance knowledge and improve leadership capabilities, and also to develop entrepreneurship and employment skills building. We must work together with others to address some of the most pressing questions, including how we can redesign education for sustainable development. Yoga for sustainable development is to adhere both informally and formally to the targets of the SDG 4 on quality and inclusive education, and also on SDG 5 on gender equality as set forth by the United Nations. Education for all has always been an integral part of the Sustainable Development Goals, especially for women and girls. And I encourage us to continue to work together to regenerate pathways for education, while also ensuring the quality of education, equity, and gender equality everywhere to build the world we want. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Remy. You brought this very important sustainable development goals, that is number 4 and 5, inclusive and sustainable education for gender equality. And you see most of the value communities events, we include more female speakers or presenters than male, including
Just like today, yeah.
like today. We have only 20%, that's me. Thank you, Dr. Remy. So we will again come back to the same point when we go to the Q&A. So now I like to invite our last speaker, presenter, that is Reverend Dr. Kathleen T. Regan. She's a senior advisor and global council member of the World Yoga Community, and she's an NGO representative of the World Yoga Community to the United Nations. She is an interfaith minister, dean, and trustee of the All Faith Seminary International, which I'm a trustee, and I'm so proud to invite her to our panel. She is a board of trustees of the New Light Temple, founder and president of KTR Nutrition, founding member and president of West End Arts Visual Arts Guild, and founding member and spiritual leader of New Light Fellowship in Long Island. She's a certified New York State art teacher and a certified yoga teacher in different yogic traditions for many decades. She taught high school art for over 20 years. She holds a BA degree in fine art, psychology, MA degree in art, MA degree in secondary education, Masters of Divinity, Doctor of Philosophy in Religion. She is a practitioner and promoter of sacred arts, Ayurveda nutrition, herbology, and a centennial teacher. Reverend Dr. Kathleen T. Regan is an author of the Food Adventure book, a workbook to help children eat properly, and conducts numerous workshops. Without delay, I'd like to invite Reverend Dr. Kathleen Regan. Floor is for you.
Thank you, Gurji. It's an honor to be here with all of you, especially my friends on this panel. Our goals in this discussion, in my view, do not separate. They are interdependent, and they all come under the umbrella of yoga. And I'm really delighted to talk about my particular goal, which is good health and well-being. As leaders of the World Yoga community, we promote and desire individual peace. We promote universal peace, family peace, national and world peace, especially those of you that are very involved with the UN. But how do we do that on a daily basis? What steps can we take in our daily lives to maintain mental, physical, spiritual, and wellness and sustainability? How do we do this? In my view, through the practice of yoga, and it doesn't matter, I know there are different aspects of yoga, different limbs, but the whole yoga in general, pick a limb, whether it's devotion, whether it's being a karma yogi, it doesn't matter. The principles of yoga will help us in all of these areas. And again, I see these as interdependent, not individual. So as yogis, we work on cultivating individual peace first through the practice of yoga asanas, through the practice of pranayama, through prayer, through satsang. This is satsang, what we're doing right now. All the work that Guruji has done over the years. This is all part of the plan, of God's plan for sustainability as a yogi. We work on practicing peace through satsang, through right eating, right thinking, meditation, and integral yoga, which is the 4 limbs that Guruji mentioned before. This practice of peace we seem to have control over, but it's only with will and dedication that we can do this. It sounds like a good idea. It sounds like we can easily attain this, but it's really through God's grace. And I'm really glad this is the Parliament of World Religions, because I can mention God. I don't have to be worried about that. But it's only through God's grace and effective methods of our living that we can sustain the power and the dedication to achieve all our goals. The most effective method to sustain personal health is to eradicate injury. And Dr. Remy just talked about this, just 5 minutes ago. How do we do that? How do we help these young people that are, especially during the pandemic, they're victims of they're locked in and they're victims. The most effective method is to eradicate injury, violence, and brutality, but in oneself first, and then go out by cultivating the virtue of the ethical principle of ahimsa, or nonviolence. We can only develop and sustain a life of well-being by conscious living and breathing. Yogis believe the expression of the spirit increases in proportion to the development of the body and mind in which it is encased. Therefore, yoga prescribes methods to train and develop the physical body and the mind. Swami Shivananda said, "The physical body is seen as an instrument or a vehicle for the soul on its journey towards perfection. Just like other vehicles, cars, planes, and trains, the body has specific requirements which must be fulfilled for it to run smoothly and be sustainable. These requirements for optimal function and sustainability are the 5 principles of yoga. Proper exercise, okay, which acts as a lubricant to all the body functions. Proper breathing, which not only helps our lungs, but also helps our brain function. Proper relaxation. Many of our friends and relatives are workaholics. Does that really help with sustainable living if they're not even getting rest themselves? I question that. Proper diet. I'm a born American, and I'm the first to tell you that I am not a big supporter of the American diet. The American diet is probably the least of all the, nutritious ways of living. And proper positive thinking and meditation. Without proper thinking, none of us can sustain anything. So ahimsa in my heart, I feel that this is the first step in sustainable living. Non-killing, non-harming, non-violence, and love and thought. Contemplate on the virtue of ahimsa every day in some way, in some small way. Okay, we have to decide on what our practices are every day as a yogi. So by sustaining this kind of thinking, it goes from our heart out. We go deep in our heart and work on developing that love for humanity, the nonviolence, and it goes out. Ahimsa is not an easy virtue to cultivate, especially in our society, when the media, the movies, the literature is so filled with violence. It's very, very difficult for young people to tune that out. But as leaders of this type of thinking, it's our job to keep teaching and to keep our hearts open and to try to show the young people a right way of thinking, a positive way of thinking. And as we contemplate on the word ahimsa, we can feel the vibrations deep in our heart. We think about the benefits of how ahimsa would benefit the world if the world felt this way. I always thought in my heart, if the whole world became yogis, there would be no peace, there would be no war, we would have no food problems. The world we'd live in the Garden of Eden. Mankind can only attain peace by causing no pain to any living creature. Our thoughts, our speech express many, as I said, we turn on the media and we hear all the dislikes, the prejudice, the backbiting, and all this. This will never help with sustainable living. But the principles of yoga, developing universal love, one family, pure love, divine love, the one message of all the saints, the sages, the prophets, and the masters of the master yogis is love, peace, nonviolence. Practicing and repeating peaceful, affirmative living is really the only way to go. And I leave you with this prayer. May all the nonviolent activists and yogis worldwide help keep our planet green, help keep it vibrant, sustainable, and alive. Tat Sat.
Hari Om Tat Sat. That is a beautiful presentation, and you brought the points, importance of the physical and mental and spiritual practices of yoga. And we have 8 minutes for our question and section. I want to bring everyone together in the screen. So I'll invite Martha Gallahue to ask few questions, and we'll all have short answers. Thank you.
First of all, it's such a delight to get together. This is like a wonderful meeting for us. And so
Yes.
thanks so much for every of the wisdom that everyone shared. I have two questions that I would really like to address to the other three speakers, to all speakers, including Guruji. The first question has to do with my own need to stimulate enthusiasm for people to participate in policy development, to engage in the social process of creating change. What would you advise within the context of the yoga message? And the second question that came to mind as you were speaking so beautifully is vision. I think we all spoke to the vision of yoga. It seems to me that we're dealing with a culture that wants everything now or wants everything yesterday. And somehow we have to change that thought process to go back to that wonderful tradition of living under the seventh generation. How would you advise that we do that? Thank you so much. And please answer in any way. I'd love to hear from all four of you.
I'll invite your grandmother Patricia to answer this question first.
Okay, thank you, Martha. Of course, we know that policy development is about our values. And so we must discern, and we must discern what is destructive and death producing, and discern what is constructive and life affirming. This is called values clarification. And that's a simple way that I work with youth, and just simplifying for them that yes and no decision making have different consequences that are very grave and serious. So that's what I'd like to say about how do we participate individually and collectively in policy development.
Reverend Kathleen.
I feel encouraging young people and schools, especially in the public schools, to teach yoga from a very, very early age, because the core principles of yoga will save us. You know, they'll teach cosmic love. This is universal love, because it starts with the self first, and then it goes out. And I think if we can train young minds from early on to follow pure principles about cosmic love, that we have a better chance at sustainable living, and including putting one's principles of right thinking first as a religion, rather than the violence and the TikTok and all this stuff. So that's my feeling. I think that we should start training at a very early age and follow the 5 principles of yoga, and really start to shift the thinking of the young people.
Dr. Remy.
Thank you very much for the questions. Based on my SDG 4 on education and SDG 5 on gender equality, I believe that the potential of education to promote positive change in the society is largely untapped. Women and girls are often unemployed, while at the same time, small and medium-sized businesses or organizations lack educated and skilled staff to drive innovation. So essentially, there's too little relationship between formal and non-formal institutions, what they teach, what they promote for individuals to study, and also how individuals are able to face real challenges in the society. So for women and girls to realize their full potential, they must have equal access to both formal and non-formal educational activities. They must also be able to have the most basic education that works to change the tradition of gendered division of labor, and one that creates a climate, including one free from sexual harassment, any type of violence, any type of discrimination, which would allow women to engage in leadership and economic activities of their choice. And with this, I wholeheartedly support life skills training, that encourages or enhances women and girls capabilities to learn about life, about their environment, about their surrounding, and also to increase their ability to make informed choices.
For my answer, I want to show through a video clip which we use at the our award ceremony during the All Faith Seminary. My life is my message that we learn from Gandhi. I'll go with that one. This is an experience, my own experience. I am so glad my parents guided me, my teachers guided me, and my friends gave me support. That's why I can make it this much. So this is an example to show all the children should have a helping hand around them physically, mentally, and spiritually. This is a way we can bring the sustainable development goals around the globe through harmony, friendship, respect, acknowledging people, and be with everybody around you and travel around the globe, interact, and partnership events. Most of the events from the partnership events. Before this agenda happened at the UN, we already implemented partnership events. So this is an example we can show to people, see, if I can do it, you can do it. This way we bring it. I want to invite Martha Gallagher to wind up the meeting with a short prayer and your comments.
May I just say one thing before Martha? The award that All Faith Seminary International gave Gurji this year was the very first time we've ever given a presidential award like this. Our seminary was the first interfaith seminary in the world. Rabbi Gelberman had this idea and thought the way to break down the walls is to really talk to each other and to embrace each other as brothers and sisters. And Guruji's life is a perfect example of how we can do this. Can we all achieve what he's done? Probably not. Not in 10 lifetimes, I couldn't. But what a beautiful example of cosmic love and peace. And we were so honored to give you this award, Gurji.
It's my honor to be with you all. The purpose of Parliament itself is to bring people together. That's why we are here. See, the Swami Vivekananda came all the way from India to Parliament, Chicago, and he brought the Indian philosophy here. In other words, we never interact with the Western people, so we have the advantage. Reverend Martha Gallahue, floor is for you.
So in addition to the panelists, I want to thank all those who participated in this program. And our intention was to increase the vibration within you, to spread the message of ahimsa, of the spirituality of yoga. And I turn toward the Gayatri, which I'm going to paraphrase. O thou, who sustains the universe, from whom all things proceed, and to whom all things return. Show to us the true spiritual sun that hides behind the golden disk. Teach us the way of peace. From the center which we call the human race, may the divine plan be realized through us, and may restoration, redemption, transformation filter through our hearts into those we love and to those we do not know. Namaste.
Thank you everyone for your great presentation and support, and I hope our viewers will enjoy this presentation.
Okay. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you all.
Thank you.